Well, hi, good morning. Thank you for joining me in my shop here on June 20th for another look at this coil in particular. And you know, this isn't the only coil, come to think of it. Oh boy, oh boy. So what I've been doing here is I've been trying to work out a diagram of what's going on inside here. This is my first shot at the diagram. And I redrew it here using my artistic talents. As you can see, I don't have any. And the hope is, for me anyway, that in doing this I will realize why this was done, what the real problem was here that the previous guy was trying to overcome, and what I should do about it. And the door is still open that this isn't a problem, that in fact the problem is somewhere else and I just haven't found it yet. Although all indications are the signal reaches this coil and never leaves this coil to carry on into the radio. Yeah, this is, you know, it's bad enough to take one of these coils out of a radio that's never been taken out, but to take one out that's been taken out already and has all these shenanigans going on. Let me just show you inside it once again and give you a quick tour as best I can here. Put some light in from the bottom. You just follow the green wire to start with. I mean, you can't see this in a 2D image like what you're looking at, but this green wire looks like it's on a terminal here. It's not. This connection is, wait a minute. Oh my God, it is a terminal. There you go. How do you like that? It is a terminal. Okay. Well, it's a good thing to go over this again, I guess. I've only gone over this a few times already on my own. I've already discovered I made a mistake. Can we see that in this upper camera? You can see part of the terminal going down into the radio there. Okay, well, let me just correct my diagram here very quickly. I just have to make this dot much bigger. I think you could assume that every one of these terminals is here for a reason. They didn't build this coil and put these terminals on top for no reason. Yet some of them have no connection to them. One back here obviously had a connection to it. There's nothing connected to it anymore. And there's another one right here, which is out of focus. You can see a big tail of solder sticking out right here where I'm moving the pencil around. Nothing connected to that, but almost a short to it from a wire coming by, but not shorted. So we have terminals with nothing connected to it anymore. I'm sure they were connected in some way originally, and all these terminals would be going down to coil leads. So it should be an even number of terminals, but not necessarily. But I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but I bet you I didn't count them all because I'm just obviously not with it here. 1, 2, 3, 4. I count 5, and on my diagram I've now got. Oh, okay. We won't talk about my diagram. Looks like I got another mistake on it. So, what to do about this? I think my first best approach, now I can see some of the wires, I can see where some of them are actually going. Like if you look at the green one, let me flex it a bit because it's very helpful if you move it a little bit. Now just the wire, please. See, it's just soldered down in the tube here. You know, that's got to be the short circuit that the last repairer was worried about, and he shoved a piece of paper in here, which I have extracted, of course. The other floppy wires over here out of the way, but those two, especially the solder spot, you can see where this wire goes down, meets a solder spot, and attaches to what looks like an even lighter wire, the actual winding wire. And this one I'm touching with my piece of my stick here is an additional piece of wire, an extension, which the repairer had on its bench or something like that. It's heavier. Why he didn't use more of this green wire? I don't know. I don't know. You know, this could be. He could have determined there was a problem with this coil, made a repair on it, put it back in the radio, and it didn't work. Take it out again, fool around with it some more, and each time it's getting more and more complicated, more and more nonsense building up in it. Maybe at some point he determined maybe there was a short circuit happening. Now what I'm wondering is that solder joint way down there, is it good? Is that the problem? I'm trying to hook the wire here and move it. Look at that. Why couldn't we just pull that wire out? I pull it out of the way there. So any one of the solder joints inside there, the one on the green wire could be bad. Now the other wire, the one you see, if I can point at it, can I point at it? Not that one. Yeah, this one here is also, this looks like actual winding wire. How would you get this much winding wire? It looks like it's coming up to this terminal, but it's not. It's actually coming all the way up, and you can't see it in the camera, to the other side of this yellow capacitor that you see right here. See the wire? There, you can see it. It's coming right up. Oh, let me move it again. All the way up and out. The capacitor is connected to this terminal. You know, is this terminal still tied to a wire lead in the coil? Coil a little loose here. Not any more than, yeah, not any more than the other one. Yeah, deep breath. These coils have to be right, in that they have to have the right impedance, the right millihenries to work against the tuning capacitor in the radio. These coils are not random by any means. They're very carefully constructed. In fact, of all the things in the radio that make this radio, coils are what is unique to this radio. You're not going to find this coil in another radio. The other radio is going to have its own purposefully built coils. So one of the things that's got me really frozen here is the chance of me making the situation worse, if it can be made worse, is so high. For instance, why don't I just take it out? Well, okay, take it out, unsolder here and unsolder behind here, and then this thing will lose its connection to the chassis, and now you just have to disconnect these wires. But I was going to say some of the connections are down in the tube, but in fact there is an extension wire that comes up and then is tied. Like for instance, can you see the red wire I'm pushing here just behind the capacitor? That's got one of those, I'm going to go that way, go this way. That's got one, you'll never see it. Well, you can kind of see it wiggling there. It's got one of the lead wires. It's got the extra heavy wire I think the guy had on his bench on it. So it would look like what he did was he took this out. I don't know why, but he took it out, abandoned some of these top connections, the terminals, in favor of attaching directly to the coil wire. This one's directly connected to the green wire here, and the other coil, which is a little hard to see, but right here is a coil, a very fine wire. It's a built-up coil, so it's not flat like this. Did he pull wires out of here? Let's go back and look again. So the one that's hooked up to this, whoops, fat finger in there. This one here I'm moving. That goes right down to the bottom of the coil. Wait a minute. Okay. Look at this. Now, I'm gonna have to use this other camera because I don't want to move my close-up one you're looking through right now. It took a while to get it worked into the radio just right. Look at this. I noticed this earlier and just kind of made a mental note, didn't say anything or whatever about it. But you see, this is on this form here. What's this edge? This is a form slid over top of a smaller diameter form. In fact, you can look at this. See the diameter of this? And the diameter of this is bigger. This has been slid over top of another coil. There's a coil under here. And that's why that wire comes all the way down. It's all the way down to intercept the fine wire coil that's hidden from view behind this cardboard form here. Okay, that's a little bit of a discovery. I'm discovering what is that you can't possibly see. So looking inside again. By the way, this is how I'm lighting it, in case you're wondering what I'm doing to make light come up through it. So the other wire is probably part of that same coil. 3 coils. There's no 3 coils on the schematic. Could I be wrong? Yeah, of course I could be wrong. Of course I could be wrong. But where else are those wires going? Okay, let me see if I can just get a little better look here. Oh, I see what I did. Just got to move this over here. And then I get a little better view into it. What is going on up at the top? So now I think you can see the inside form comes to an end, and then there's the outside form continues. Oh my gosh. Yeah, sure. And you see, and that's how you fix it. So I think what's happening is probably the lower turn on the outside, on the heavy outside coil, the one you can see, is punched through to the inside and then raised up to the top. But the other wire's right there. Oh, what happened here? So is that? So I'm looking. It's hard for me, all I can do is talk. I can't really point to this, or can I? Can I point like this? Yeah. Okay. So just pretend I'm actually pointing down. So you see this wire right here, heavy. This wire. And look over. You see another one here, and it disappears right where the end of my stick is. It disappears. It looks like it goes. Looks like it goes between the 2 forms. But then it continues on up. Continue pointing up to here, where it's kind of disappearing from view, but it's very near the top at that point. Oh, very near the bottom rather. And my mouth is so dry, I gotta go drink coffee. It's an emergency here. So is what happened here. The coil wire I'm pointing at now came up, met the terminal at the bottom of the coil, and then another wire was attached to the terminal and carried on somewhere in the radio. And that other wire has subsequently been bent down into the form, down to here, where it's making a connection that would have originally been made at the bottom to the terminal. Hey, when I was counting terminals, I missed the 2 terminals on the bottom. There's 2 terminals on the bottom. Oh boy. And this doesn't seem to match the schematic. The schematic shows only just a simple transformer. So is this like a multi-purpose coil here? Like we've got a primary, secondary here, and then this is something else entirely? And they're able to put them on the same form? Like perhaps when you switch in this coil, you also activate this coil way over here. But when you switch in this coil, you're activating the coil you can't see inside. But this one's no longer used through switching. Well, I don't know, I'm just making all this up. I don't know. How do they do this? Oh my gosh, it's just a couple of coils of wire. Oh, I'm sorry. I left the wrong camera going there. I'm very sorry about that. Yeah, so I'm ragging on and you're looking at a blurry picture of nothing. So these are the terminals at the bottom. You can, obviously it's picking up this wire. The other end of this wire, I'm suggesting, is poking into the inside. It used to come down to a terminal. Maybe it didn't. Maybe it used to go up to a terminal. And the last repair removed it from the terminal and hooked it up to a little green wire extension up to here. Well, why would any of this be done? Why would he do any of this? Well, obviously in the basic, simplest sense, he thought it was necessary. Why would he think? Because anybody would be afraid to do this work, because the potential for an error and destruction is pretty high. So he's forced into it because something is definitely wrong with it. He ends up abandoning a lot of the terminals in favor of bringing leads directly out from the coil. So one possibility is somehow the leads broke inside the coil form. How would they break? Corrosion can do it? Is that possible? It's very unlikely in this radio because there isn't any heavy corrosion anywhere. I didn't see any green. Sometimes you can see green around these connections. Might make you a little suspicious. But I don't see it here. What was, though, is what he was trying to repair. So what was could be removed. So I can't make an observation of what was, the same stuff he saw. But more likely what he was going after was a simple break in the coil. Okay, obviously this is not going to break. But the lighter wires, they can break, they can be burned off. They really shouldn't just break. They'd have to be, mechanically attacked in some way, or something would have to happen, some corrosion or something. Then after doing all the work, you put the coil back in. The coil's rotation is fixed by this terminal connection here. It's got to go in the way it goes in. Then he found out all these wires he cut from the terminal, they don't reach anymore. So he had to put little extensions on to get the wire to the original wires to reach. Could have made mistakes at that point. Now here we have a capacitor, and one of the lead wires from the hidden coil is attached up here. Right here. Don't darken it there. Right here. So a capacitor, this is a replacement. The original capacitor was probably running between these terminals, some terminals. And because he's released the lead wires from the terminals, he had to do something with the capacitor too. So he just brought it up. It's stiff enough, he figured, to act as a terminal up here, and hooked it up. But this probably went to a terminal, and this resistor, which you can't see right now, there's a resistor up here. This resistor probably also went to a terminal. And so without using terminals, you'd have to restore the wiring exactly correct. Then my guess is he had more trouble. He got it all done, got the whole thing back in the radio. He had more trouble. He stuck that piece of paper in to try to break a short, because you could see the solder connections that are floating around in there in bare wire. Shoved in the piece of paper, and but this would be really rough on somebody. If this story I'm telling is true, somebody started, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put in this power supply. I'm going to put in those transformers. I'm going to change all the tubes. I'm going to do all this stuff. And he did all that stuff. And that alone is a lot of risky work. There's all kinds of parts that got changed here and there. And then he ran into this. See, one of the things I do all the time, I try to do all the time, is get a radio working to any degree as quickly as possible with the least amount of work, even no work whatsoever. Just get it going somehow, to some degree. And he can't do that. He couldn't do that while he's doing this tube work until he has all the tubes straightened out, which we don't think was a lot of work, but it was definitely work. You can see all the soldering that went on and all these tube things. And then, only then, was he able to turn the radio on and find out that there was trouble here. That's my story, anyway. And he probably stomped around his shop, probably, issuing all kinds of explicatives. By the way, when I'm not shooting video, bad words come out of my mouth. When the video's on, I tend to keep my bad words to myself. And I also know that when that starts happening, when you start stomping around and adrenaline starts kicking in, and you stop thinking logically, you shift into an emotional mode of operation. The purpose of the emotional mode is fast decision making with very little information. So if you start engaging that system of fast decision making with very little thinking, guess what's going to happen? You're going to make more mistakes. Then you're going to walk away totally frustrated and go, I can't possibly fix this thing. So I don't want to get there. So I'm letting myself, letting the temperature rise, and then I'm stopping and cooling off, coming in the next day to go up. So what I hoped would happen by this point is the light would have come on in my head and I'd know exactly what to do about this. And what are the possibilities? The first and best possibility is to poke it. Poke, and try to find out if there isn't some little problem that can be done. Or find out exactly what the problem is. I still don't know exactly what the problem is. Is it this connection? Is it this connection? Is it this? Is it what? Is it what? I don't know. Yeah, you can hear the frustration in my voice. After I told that story, I'm sharing. I now realize that guy's frustrations have become mine. Yet, I think he had success with this radio. The owner has told me he did pick up a station. I think he even mentioned it was 1010 CFRB. That's actually quite a long ways away too. I think CFRB, I'm not sure, maybe it's just in Toronto. What do you do in a case like this? Poke, bend, twist, test. Don't desolder anything. Don't change anything. Just try to figure out exactly what this is. Now I've drawn a pictorial diagram down here, but I haven't turned this into a schematic yet. And good thing, because I only now realized there's another coil in here. I didn't even know it was in there. Time for coffee, and I'm going outside from here. This is going to be the end of this video because the weather is beautiful outside again. We're just getting day after day of beautiful weather, sunshine. It's not terribly hot or humid. It's just fantastic. And here I am in my shop. Okay, well, thanks a lot for watching. Kind of wish this was going in a little bit of a different direction, but it is what it is. And I think my next step is more testing, more poking, more understanding of what is actually here before I start trying to fix what I don't even know. I don't even know what's broken. All I know is it's weird looking. Yeah, you can hear it in my voice. Quick, to the coffee shop, or to the coffee cup. Once again, thanks a lot for watching, and wish me luck.